Legal Tuesday, where you know what, we do get an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and he does the Lord's work. He comes in here to do his pro bono bit. He is partner at Ngugi and Buru Advocates. It's Advocate Eliud Ngugi. He is in studio. And today, obviously, now somebody's written in. And hold on, whoa, before I jump in there. You might be one of those people who like, yes, you do have a legal question at hand. And you want to share with us so that we can, share with Wakili so that you can seek guidance of the course of action to take. Imagine just hashtag Legal Tuesday, all right, on Spice FM KE. And then on any other given Tuesday, we shall see what's what. And today, somebody has written in and says, hi, guys. We lost our mom 10 years back. And my dad, who is 69 years of age, is being pressured by his 35-year-old girlfriend to remarry. The woman he is to marry has 2 kids, and my siblings and I are now wondering if we will have to share our inheritance with the new family members. How do we protect our inheritance? This wedding has been scheduled for next year. Now, if you know how you know when we do what we do, we get your point of view, all right? You as the listener, and we ask you either to dial that number 0719012600. Yani how we usually do the court, né? And then, finally, Wakili will give us the legal perspective, and it's all love. Do you know what I mean? So that said, Gordon Arara, how you doing, Gordon? You say, tough one. The ship has sailed. Yani planned wedding. It's time to accept the circumstances as they are. If these kids are not their dads, they probably shouldn't be entitled to inherit. The lawyer can help with this. All right. There was recently a court ruling on these lines. Is that true, by the way, Wakili?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you are not sure. You look that up. Okay. And then I got somebody else here. Where do we have it? Where do you have it? Okay, I'm going through these ones. And in fact, you know what? I'm going through the wrong place. Let me just go back to the source of the River Nile. Because what we have is now we've got Gordon has spoken and he's still just talking. All right. Okay. Let me go to these ones, okay? The ones that we actually do have where was it Nimepotea wapi? Anyway, so Esquire, okay, here we go. Sorry, good. Now, so in terms of opinion here, all right, so we got various comments from you coming in,
mm-hmm.
and in terms of what you have to say concerning this particular story, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Watu wameongea sana sana. Now, the question is, guys have been together. These guys, the wedding is planned for next year. And one boy, she says, protect what? What's with people and inheritance? The old man spent his youth looking for whatever it is. Not unless it's inherited wealth, they shouldn't feel as entitled. The man is getting old, allow him to enjoy the remaining years of his life being cared for and loved on.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, you ditch your hustles and go and look after him. Come on. I have never understood children who are a hindrance to their parents' happiness. Okay? Make it make sense! ! One boy. All right. Cynthia, good evening. You're saying, and you know why the woman is on pressure to get married? Ashaona inheritance. Pia. Come on. Koros, you say, just share your inheritance. That is if your father inherited it from his dad. Share it amongst your siblings and your dad. Each awena share yake. Muzee akioa, he can give his share to his other kids. Mm-hmm. That one makes a bit of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, Ekrain Ahmed, good evening to you. Say, ask him to give y'all what's yours now. So, Esquire.
Yes.
We have seen their various points of view. In terms of this, first of all, what is the legal position where one party comes in? We have kids. I have kids with the until death do us part. Okay? Then we find love in a special place. Mm-hmm. And then the second party comes in with children. First of all, you know how we do this. Let's play devil's advocate. Clearly, the people who wrote this are majors. They're over 18. Mm-hmm. Let's assume, because this woman's 35. Mm-hmm. She's got kids. Mm-hmm. Since I'm going to assume she didn't give birth at 2, okay, that her children are minors. Mm-hmm. In that position, how do you, and I am these people, before you say the legal position, I am these people who have written in. They want now protection. We have come to you. How are you going to make sure that what's mine is mine? And considering all the things that people have said, how do we protect our inheritance?
How do we protect our inheritance?
Yes.
One, you have no right to. Well, you have a right to your inheritance.
Yes.
But this is subject to a person who is giving that inheritance.
There we go.
Therefore, you cannot force it.
Yes.
And there are two ways inheritance is passed on to people.
Right.
Either through a will,
right,
or through the court systems.
Bas.
And if it's through a will,
yes,
the only way you can get your share is if you had made an impact in the person's life.
Yes.
If it's your mother or father or your brother who decides, who passes on.
Yes.
And they leave you out,
yes,
it will be very difficult for you to then force it.
Yes.
Because if they are able to prove that they made the will in their right mind,
yes,
and in the right, and the will was properly attested, yes, or witnessed,
yes,
then you have a very hard time trying to protest that will.
Right.
And so with that information in mind, once there is a will and you are not part of that will, then if you are to go to court, Section 28 of the Succession Act,
right,
gives you options,
right,
and it actually provides on circumstances by which it can make a court order,
right,
if you are to contest a will,
right,
and that would be if you are to, for example, prove that the circumstances by which you were given that the will was made.
Yeah.
So was the person of the right mind?
Right.
Was he sane? Was he in the right mind frame when, yes, he was making that will?
Yes.
So you can only protect your will by trying to contest that will, right, by proving such, right, issues.
Right.
Secondly, if the person had already assumed a certain responsibility, right, on a dependent, then you could prove that they were already providing to you.
Right.
If is enough property, yeah, we have sufficient properties, then, yes, the court is likely, yes, to consider your plea, yes, to be provided for in that will.
Right.
But then we are Kenyans, and most of us are afraid of planning our, yes, estates.
Yes.
And so a person will pass on and they will not plan their estate.
Right.
And there is all kind of fighting.
Yes.
And you want to seek for your will.
Yes.
Not your will, you want to seek for your inheritance. Right. And you want to fight for, yes, it. And the only way to go about it is under the law. One, it provides for dependence.
Right.
You must be either a wife, a former wife.
Right.
Or you have to be a dependent.
Right.
Which basically means that either you fall under the category of a child,
right,
category of a sister, right, brother, right, category of a father, mother, right, category of a step brother or, right, sister, right, for you to be able to now make a request to be considered in this.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's go to the instance, because remember you are trying to, we have come to you. Mm-hmm. And you know what? It's we're at Ngugi, mm-hmm, and this is the thing, we're like, listen, now, what we are talking here, forget, first of all, this woman, we're calling her this woman, for she's 35, And man, the Zach is exactly twice her age. This guy is 69, nigga. All right? When she was born, this guy, Yani, was entering midlife. All right? So we're like, yes, huyu dem amekuja na ameroga baba yetu. Amekalia chapo. You're number one. That's number one. Because obviously we're trying to sell to you, right, brother? And then also, when we talk about inheritance, okay, this is the land, forget ile kazi ambayo Buddha amefanya hapa Nairobi. We talk about now in the farm in Muhoroni. I just picked a spot. Okay? That one that was passed down like the Zulus from generation to generation. Yeah? Now, this woman from South Nyanza. Unanielewa kaka? We need you, Esquire, to make sure. How do we protect our inheritance? Because that is the question. Ile abuda nizaki basi. He can do what he wants. That when he was working for, when he was clerking for Eliud in Tao in Nairobi, you ni sawa. Do your best. Do you. But here, yeah, in Moroni, those kids don't get. Is there way that you can assure that does not, or rather that happens?
There, we need to go into the more details of this listener's case.
Bus.
And I'll be asking them.
Yes.
Your dad has taken up someone.
Yes.
And this someone is already on this has already come and presented herself.
Yes.
The law is very interesting in how it looks at some issues.
Yes.
So, for example, what I had mentioned earlier.
Yes.
Who is a dependent under the Succession Act? When we look at that,
yes,
we will be able to see that a dependent is one who is being provided for, or the deceased person had already assumed responsibility, assuming they are coming into this marriage seeking to take away your inheritance and your share. So we'll be asking, okay, so suppose an incident happens because your father is almost at that age.
Yes.
If the woman does not really have to get married for you to actually get a share of this estate.
Allah.
So it becomes work in futility for us to try and stop it.
Yes.
If your father had already started off the process of supporting this woman.
Yes.
And if this woman has access to some of these, let's say, M-Pesa messages, account details, and statements to show that they already, let's say, rent was being paid for.
Yes.
And the children's school fees was already being provided for by this man.
Right.
And we have a very strong case when this person passes on without a will, what we call intestate.
Yes.
They can show up in court and protest and seek to have a share of your assets.
Okay, now once again, Baba, so this is devil's advocate, bro. Now, when we talk about assets, because here now, let's talk about ancestral land, because let's assume there are 4 siblings, and then it was 10 acres, 2.5, 2.5, 2.5. And then this lady has got 2 kids. So what we are fighting for is, you know what? We just don't want her children getting any of our land. Would the court consider that one? Says, okay, these are not your kids, but then ile zingine assets we can share, but land, that's a different story.
Not really, because we've said again, the court will look at what is on the table to be shared.
Right.
And it has to be very fair when making that determination.
Yes.
So if you show that you're a dependent, you are part of this, then you get it. But also, when we are also claiming all these things, we need to consider other factors. This lady wants to be married.
Indeed. Yes.
So the event has not happened.
Yes.
It's going to happen next year.
Yes.
Do you, as the son to this Jose, who is maybe claiming that maybe because of his age, he became senile.
Yes.
He cannot make the right decisions anymore. he seems to be a bit overexcited.
He's crazy in love, Baba.
Yeah, maybe he's just overly excited.
Yes.
Or he's still grieving. So he may not be in the right mind frame to make any decision that goes into what we call more like a marriage.
Right.
And allow me to quote a decision
Please.
from our courts recently.
Yes.
And this decision, well, it has initials SW versus NGK.
Yes.
Where the court held that that marriage by our law is a civil contract and may be avoided or stopped like any other contract by want of sufficient mental capacity in the parties. If the mind is unsound at the time, it is incapable of consent, and that is an essential element of contract. So under the Contract Act, I think it's section 3.
Right.
You need to have the right capacity to enter into a contract in Kenya.
Right.
But also even in the UK and those countries that follow and have adopted the common law.
Yes.
And so in this case, when we are taking this old man and we are thinking maybe he's not in the right mind frame, then the contract angle of a marriage, which we've said is a contract.
Indeed.
This marriage is not likely to be entered lawfully because the person didn't have a mental capacity.
Right.
But also when we look at section 74 of the Marriage Act, 73 of the Marriage Act, and especially how we can stop any marriage, one of the grounds given is that you need to confirm that the person had the right mental capacity to enter into a marriage.
Right.
And in this case, they can use that, rush to court, get a court order, an injunction, serve it upon the Registrar of Marriages within the notice period, and this marriage will be stopped.
Okay, now obviously, Esquire, for this person and the siblings, it would be in our best interest to say that, you know what, Mose is crazy in love, which makes him a bit bored. And we can, in my mind, we can conspire. Let's assume we're 4 siblings. You imagine, let's just say, because no normal person would do this. She's 35 years younger than him. See, we just say, how do we prove that Mose is not sour?
When you show up in court, you could seek for a court order to have the Mose taken for assessment.
There we go.
By a psychiatrist.
Yes.
And for this report to be presented in court.
Yes.
And the court will allow you to do so.
Yes.
Because the court is guaranteed. Justice is where parties are given a chance to present the right information.
Right.
So part of the justice will be to allow you, okay, you are making claims that this Muse is not likely to be making the right decisions and his mind is a bit off.
Yes.
So your order to have a psychiatrist assessment report can then be brought in.
Right.
And they can proceed and do it.
Wow.
Yeah. And an order, and a psychiatrist will come to court and present a medical report or an assessment report saying that they assessed the person and they find, these are the findings.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so listen, we have looked at this question from both sides of the fence. Clearly from the future bride-to-be and her offspring, and then also from the individual who basically sought answer to this question. Advocate Eliud Ngugi has given us the 411 there. But then what is the way forward? Well. The final thoughts and moments with Advocate Eliud Ngugi when we get back after the break. Yeah, man, we do have a partner from Ngugi Mburu Advocates. We call it Legal Tuesday, and it's Advocate Eliud Ngugi in studio. Today, the question was, somebody wrote in and said, hi, guys, we lost our mom 10 years back, and my dad, who is 69 years of age, is being pressured by his 35-year-old girlfriend to remarry. So it's basically, literally, he's 70, man. She's 35. Okay? Double her age. The woman he is to marry has 2 kids, and my siblings and I are now wondering if we will have to share our inheritance with the new family members. How do we protect our inheritance? The wedding has been scheduled for next year. And obviously, kama kawaida, Wakili has walked us through. And he said in this one, the only way you can protect your inheritance, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to basically say that your Zak is Boiro.
That's option number one.
That's number one.
Option number one, which you have to prove. You have to present the evidence
Yes.
and prove that he's not okay mentally.
Yeah.
But then, if at the time of his passing, you are able to prove that before his passing, he was already supporting you and providing for the dependents who are your children,
right,
then you're in a good place.
I love that.
Yeah.
Esquire, somebody wrote in here, Julius Yamo. Good evening. You say, you know what? In 2019, a Kenyan court ruled that children cannot inherit step-parents' property unless there's a proof of voluntary assumed permanent parental responsibilities. I think that's what you've just said.
Yeah.
I would encourage you to do an inquiry from your dad with an accompaniment of other parties. Okay. All right. So I think he just is reiterated what you just said. Right?
Yeah.
So in this one, to answer the question finally on how do we protect our inheritance, this one you're telling them what as a final one, Yani, and you're underlining it after that, by the way, Esquire.
As a final one, I'm saying if the wedding is planned,
Yeah,
and it's going to happen next year,
yes, sir,
there's a provision under the Marriage Act for one to put together, or rather to notify the public upon initiating the process of registration of a marriage at the AG's office or whichever other office that you may be making the registration, because
Yes.
marriages can be registered also in the embassies,
yes,
and in the county offices.
right,
So if that notice has already gone out,
yes,
or if it hasn't gone out, keep watching, keep checking to see
Right.
whether that notice has already been put in place.
yes,
And the reason why that notice goes out is because you are required
Notice,
as
yes,
a member
I
of the
know.
public,
Yes.
and now as a member of that family, to protect your own inheritance,
yes,
for you to put together a proper feedback
yes.
and make your allegations that the person who
I love this.
is assumed to be entering into this marriage does
Yes.
not have capacity
Yes,
to do so, and therefore he may not be able to consent, because we've said marriage is a contract.
yes,
And if it's assumed to be a contract, then you need to be in the right mind frame.
right,
You need not to be senile, or you need not to be to have incapacity
Yes, yes,
to make
yes,
that decision
yes,
to enter
yes.
into this contract.
Yes.
And from that point, then the registrar of marriage would not allow the registration of a marriage to proceed.
right,
That's one way to go about it. The other way to go about it is to put together a petition, file it in court,
right,
and get an injunction
Right.
to stop this marriage from proceeding.
yes,
So you can proceed and go to court, file an application under certificate of urgency, show that the agency is that a marriage is about to happen in the next, we are now in February, in the
Yes.
next 8 months,
Yes.
a wedding is about to happen,
Right.
and you are questioning the capacity of the parties who are going to enter into this marriage.
Right.
And from there, then you could file that, seek also to have an order to get an examination, a psychiatric examination report
Right.
to be filed in court, and from that, then you'll be able to stop the marriage and protect your own inheritance.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's always been a pleasure, this and every Tuesday. See you next week, Wakili. Asante sana.